Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 101 of the Orange Pill Investor. And in honor of the 101st episode, uh, 101 always reminds me of one of my favorite parts of the book 1984 when they take him to room 101 and basically torture him back into submission, and the state basically has their way with him. So Uh, spoiler alert, no happy ending in this one. And the reason why I think it's appropriate to talk about is this is why we Bitcoin. This, if you want to know what Bitcoin is backed by, it's backed by being able to cryptographically secure your wealth and not be able to be taken to room 101 and have it tortured out of you. If you have multi-sig, 2 of 3, whatever, I guess they got to nab you both. And if you know, if you have an institutional multi-sig, I guess they'd have to infiltrate the company or whatever. Um, but this is ultimately, in my mind, the true value and utility of Bitcoin. Sure, it's a store of value, the hardest money that's ever been discovered, but it's also about subverting control and having freedom. My main goal in life at this point is to feel like I've at least lived like a free person for some period, and Bitcoin is leading me towards that. I shared the video from TrueStream Media the other day when it was about. They said it was a video that wasn't about the eclipse, and basically it was kind of like fifth gen warfare attacking our psyches. That's what she was warning about, and I think she was definitely feeling it. And to me, Bitcoin is like my personal defense against control, psychological warfare. People say, "Oh, how do you sleep good at night knowing that Bitcoin can drop 30%, 50%, whatever at any time?" And the reason why I sleep well at night is because I know that I am secure in my wealth. Whatever it happens to be at that time of in volatility, I can take my seed phrase across state lines, country lines, set up shop somewhere else in a friendlier jurisdiction, and I guess that's all I have to say on that matter. But curiously enough, Aldous Huxley corresponded with Orwell when he came out with 1984, and he's like, congratulations on this. This is, it was a good book, but he basically said Brave New World, the one that he wrote, was better and more accurate. So who knows how deep all of the how deep it all goes with the people that are pulling the strings. But for me, this is why Bitcoin. However, I do not subscribe to what some people say is the constantly you're Bitcoin poor if you enjoy anything in life, or you're short Bitcoin if Bitcoin. That was almost as bad as the Bitcoin flip. Um, you're short Bitcoin if you have a car payment or don't live under a bridge or something. Uh, you you buy Bitcoin because you want it to improve your life. And the Bitcoin that I have in cold storage hasn't improved my life one shred, other than the peace of mind, like I explained already. But as far as like providing me creature comforts or anything like that, it just sits there and it just gathers dust. And at some point, the financial vehicles may be useful enough to either get some safe yield on it or loan it out or whatever the heck the future brings, and just to be able to get something out of it without having to sell it. I'll be around for that. But if I need to peel off some Bitcoin to purchase something that I want, then I will absolutely do it. And one of those things that I have started doing is, instead of DCAing more into Bitcoin, I've actually preferred MicroStrategy. And maybe somebody's going to try to get my Bitcoin maxi card pulled or whatever for saying that, or force me to take my laser eyes off of my profile pic or something. But I basically want to transition from my 9 to 5 to just making my living in the stock market, primarily selling covered calls. And MicroStrategy is, for me, the apex predator asset in the stock market. So I want to own it. I've been breaking every piggy bank, emergency fund that I have in order to funnel money into my trading account to buy MicroStrategy, especially since I've gotten wrecked over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I guess getting wrecked depends on how you look at it. But I think because I had DCA'd it all the way up until like 1800 or something, I think I'm actually technically down on MicroStrategy, even though it's vastly up from a month ago. But for me, like I said, it's the best asset, and it's only getting better. And so for me, the money that I would DCA into Bitcoin is all going into MicroStrategy right now. And once my portfolio reaches a certain size, hopefully by the end of 2025, I would like to be able to just walk away from my job. I could probably do it now. I sell 2 covered calls a week on my MicroStrategy, and just that alone is like $4,600, even at the reduced prices right now. And that was getting about 2% in premium and like 20% call away value. So if MicroStrategy pumps from 11 something where it is now all the way up to 1400, I would still be able to capture all of that upside. Now, if it shoots to 1800 or 2000 again in 1 week, then I would not be able to capture all of that upside. But collecting that 4,600 this week allowed me to purchase 4 more shares of MicroStrategy. So I think I'm up to 245 now at this point. And I've got some more cash on its way. I can't get it into the account fast enough, but I'm actually kind of hoping that MicroStrategy stays where it's at least on the short term, so I could pick up some more quote unquote cheap shares. So I still do a small Bitcoin DCA with my son. He's a broke college kid, so we pick up just a few sats every Friday. That's a fun little thing to do with my boy. But MicroStrategy is something that I value. So I am perfectly happy sacrificing what could be, some cash that could be turned into Bitcoin. I want to have MicroStrategy, and I want to pursue basically what is the next career path for me. I started selling options 4 years ago, and I had an entire lost year when the Fed raised rates. I had almost like almost my entire account, I think, was in leaps. So I wasn't doing the covered call strategy. I was actually, oh my God, I was leveraged long to the gills, and I had made a ton of money the year before, and I gave it all back to the casino. So I learned that lesson. I'm a little bit more optimistic now that the leaps would have probably worked. I don't see how the Fed could continue to leave rates where they are, or even or increase them. Some people buy into the election conspiracy stuff. I kind of do, but with interest rates where they are, there's no way the government can pay its debts. So, I mean, they never really have any intention of paying their debts, but they have to at least make a good show of it. And the debt, the interest payments on trillions, it has to the rate has to go down in order to save us from, like hyperinflation. Excuse me. Actually, they need hyperinflation to actually save themselves from this. So they can't leave rates high to curb inflation. They they need to lower rates again so that they can basically it's basically defaulting on the debt by just inflating the currency and paying those debts back with weaker money in the future, money that's been debased by inflation. And of course, the rest of us get screwed because our cash gets turned into weaker money as well. But yeah, so I'm basically I'm like 10% short of all in on MicroStrategy right now. I do have some I actually do have some leaps in Tesla which I've gotten hammered over the last week. And so, I'm still selling covered calls on those. I think like 180 strikes for next week. So leaving lots of upside there in case Tesla surges on earnings. Not real hopeful that they will though, because the market can be wrong, but it seems like there's a lot of FUD, and the market might be sniffing out a bad earnings report. Tesla's the only company that I really want to own other than MicroStrategy for the next 10 years. And the reason is because they are the clear winner. They're disrupting. Anyone who says that they're just a car company is listening to corporate media, finance, or something, because there's no way that you can say that a company just buying tons and tons of AI chips as a car company. That just doesn't make any sense. So full self-driving is going to be a money printer. Robotaxis is a money printer. Humanoid robots is a money printer, even though it might be 10 years from now. But once they get FSD perfected, they'll just customize that code. The same code that lets their cars interact with the world is going to be the same code that they use to make their robots interact with the world. So there's no competition coming for Tesla. They don't have any competition. BYD has compelling vehicles. Yes, fine. They're kind of like a competitor, I suppose, but from what I hear, their margins are razor thin, whereas Tesla has industry-leading margins that any other car company would die for. So if they were just a car company, they'd have these little 3 or 4% margins like the rest of them, but they don't. They have insane margins, and the funny thing is, when the margins drop a few percent, it's still 3 or 4 times the margins of these legacy gas car companies, but the market freaks out and penalizes Tesla for not having 20% margins every year. So everyone's selling their Tesla, has their heads up their asses, and my prediction is that in 10 years the market cap will be MicroStrategy 1, Tesla 2. Tesla is a bargain right now, but could it where's support? I guess support's at 100. If we go all the way back to January 2023, we got 160 here, so which it's already gone below that. So could this go to 100 again? I don't know if it would go to 100, but hell, anything's possible. I mean, but it always helps to zoom out. So I was going to draw support lines or trend lines or whatever the hell. I don't really do technical analysis, but um, this is still a stock I want to own. This is up and to the right. And I'm sure, Apple, Apple's pretty steady as she goes now, but I mean, there's some ups and downs here as well. So volatility is the price you pay for amazing stocks. All right, so the small account challenge didn't do much this week because I almost got a margin call on this damn thing and had to roll out my HUT and riot out to 531 to get a little extra premium here. And then of course the miners reversed on me, so I'm getting whipsawed here a little bit. Did take the $100 worth of premium that I collected this week, added a few more fractional shares of MicroStrategy, almost got one whole share, and so I will continue. Oh, the other thing I did was dump CLSK. Liquidity is very important, especially in a small account. You don't want to, if you're only making $30 selling a covered call, like for Mara, let me just take a look at this. If you're selling a covered call and you're getting $42, and it's going to cost you $3 because the options are trading in increments of a nickel. So the mid price is 13, but you got to sell it for 10 or go to the next nickel. So instead of getting, $42 for this, you might only get 40. And that's that's crazy. It's like 10% of your profit for the week just losing out because of liquidity, and they don't sell in increments of a penny. So CLSK pissed me off. I dumped the stock. That's why I have 200 shares of Mara. I picked up an extra 200 shares of Mara, which actually worked out because Mara did not recover as well as CLSK. I think the prices were fairly similar. So 1675. Mara was trading higher than CleanSpark for a while, but CleanSpark was a little bit higher than Mara right now. A lot of people are hyped about it. I don't really give a shit about the miners. I just trade it in this account kind of for fun, just for demonstration purposes. And in my main account, I'll own a few shares, actually, because I trade that with my son on Fridays as well. So I got like 100 shares of Riot in my main account. But if I have, some extra premium, if I got $1,000 of buying power, and that's not enough to buy a whole share of MicroStrategy, then maybe I buy 100 shares of HUT and sell another covered call for $10, $20, whatever. So my preference, first and foremost, I load up on MicroStrategy, then Tesla, then the miners, just kind of round out and fills out the gaps. All right, so made those two moves, swapped out CLSK for Mara, and picked up a little bit of MicroStrategy. The main account, I picked up like 10 shares of MicroStrategy plus the extra 4. So I might have picked up 14 shares this week. Got some more money coming in, and it'll probably almost all go to MicroStrategy. And I might pick up another cheap Tesla, but I'm just worried about this earnings call. Now, sometimes when you're expecting negative earnings and they surprise a little bit, they can still be shitty earnings, a shitty earnings call, but if it's not as shitty as the market expected, it could pump. So I will definitely not carry these, I'll close these out. I definitely won't carry these over earnings for Tesla, which is on 423 after market closes. 429. So MicroStrategy is the week after. I will absolutely not carry these covered calls in case MicroStrategy reports their true value according to the new FASB rules. They're not required to do fair market, but they can. And it will be interesting to see what happens to their stock price fairly marketing or marking their Bitcoin holdings. Prior to the change in the FASB rules, owning MicroStrategy was kind of a drag on their earnings reports. It was not cool at all. So there's no way I will carry covered calls on MicroStrategy over earnings. That just seems too dangerous to me. If it gaps up, and of course it could crash, so I'll lose. If I don't carry covered calls and it crashes, I'll lose a few bucks. But losing a couple of dollars is fine. 4 earnings calls a year, that just means I don't carry a covered call 4 days a year. It's no big deal. But the risk to me is to the upside. So I definitely don't want to carry covered calls over earnings on any stock really, but definitely MicroStrategy and to a certain extent Tesla. So, with all of this been happening, if the rates had come down, I don't know. But that's all I wanted to cover for now. Get your Bitcoin in cold storage. Figure out a way to secure it properly. Keep yourself out of room 101. And it's never financial advice, but I'm stacking. I follow Stephen Mark Ryan for Tesla News, my daily Tesla hype. And he's always saying that he's buying Tesla with every spare cent, and he is not bullshitting. He'll buy the dips, the tops, whatever. And I feel the same way about MicroStrategy right now. I'm buying MicroStrategy with every spare cent and dipping into my emergency funds to do so. So, of course, I see it as an opportunity. They are building a Bitcoin development company, and it's a monopoly. So they're the clear winners. They have no competition. They're disrupting. I saw a really cool graphic that showed all of the other financial instruments and how many trillions they were worth, and Bitcoin was this little sliver. And it's going to be fun to watch Bitcoin eat gold, bonds, real estate, and just gobble up all of the other stores of value, all the inferior stores of value, I should say. So I talked way longer than I was supposed to, and get your Bitcoin in cold storage so they don't break you in room 101 and you tell them to do it to Julia. Keep your sanity intact. All right, that's it for now. Be good, y'all.